Alright, so we have just gotten to that point of the, I guess, not year or month, but like that point of the Sonic game cycle where Iizuka says some shit, okay? And he's really saying the shit today, and oh, we gotta talk about this. So ever since after Sonic Central, when we got that little Sonic Rangers CGI teaser, no gameplay, Iizuka has been hellbent on going on a serious interview run. He's been doing all sorts of interviews, talk about Color's Ultimate, Origins, and even Rangers, obviously still calling it Sonic 2022, because Rangers is the leaked title and it's not officially confirmed. And even if it was the real title, they could still change it just to say, oh, we don't want it to be the same as the leaked title anymore, we're changing it. But I'm not saying they're gonna change it. The point is, he's been going on a huge interview run to basically say things about Sonic Rangers without actually saying anything significant, right? And we'll throw in these little tidbits here and there to, like, I guess try and keep us wet. I don't know, like, what he's trying to do. Like, I feel like in Iizuka's brain, he feels like saying things about Rangers is like a substitute for gameplay because they don't have gameplay they're willing to show. If we just say little things without really saying anything, then it's almost like gameplay. Like that one scene in Skins where Cassie, like, plays with her food and cuts it around and moves it around in the plate to make it seem like she's eating while she's actually just talking, and then leaves the house without actually eating anything because she was anorexic. And you guys don't get the reference, and this is going somewhere completely left field, so I'm just going to reel this back into the Sonic. It just seems like he's waffling, basically. Nonetheless, we're gonna have to talk about this one because these things always come up, and I see them always come up, which is why I have to bring this up and just say, let's not get our hopes up too soon with regards to what he's saying about Sonic Rangers. So we go to Twitter to Woon-kun, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, but he's a Sonic fan, or she, or they, I don't know, and they obviously speak Japanese and English, and they've been able to translate some kind of interview that Iizuka did for the Japanese audience. It says here, I translate some interview about Sonic 2022 title called Rangers from latest Famitsu. Some interest you maybe. So this may interest some of you. Tell us more about Sonic 2022 title, Daddy Zook. Many fans ask about what title comes next after Sonic Forces. We've shown that teaser to fans. That means we're working on a lot currently. 1 out of 2. You can see the images there. I'm not going to really go too much into them because it's in Japanese, but I'll show it on the screen for those of you who understand Japanese want to read it yourself. Daddy Zook says, we've learned all our mistakes and we evolve on that. So now our team developing new game deliberately and slowly. So now naturally a lot of Sonic fans are going, oh, that's it. That's what we wanted to hear. Rejoice, rejoice, Sonic saved. Hold on a minute. It's never as simple as you think. Let's delve into this. Before we fully delve into what he's saying, I just want to remind people that showing is always more important than telling. Saying that you've learned your mistakes is one thing, but actually acting is the real thing that shows that you've learned your mistakes. If you do something stupid and you apologize to someone and, you know, say I've learned my mistakes, and then tomorrow you're doing the same stupid thing, next time you apologize, I'm not going to take you seriously, right? And usually every time there's a new game, they say something along the lines of, yeah, we fucked up last time, we've learned our mistakes and we're gonna fix it this time, right? And then what happens? We get a bunch of mid games throughout the 2010s. Like After Generations was like the last big hit from Sonic Team. We got Lost World, we got Boom, which wasn't Sonic Team but another flop. We got Forces, we got Team Offline Racing, which wasn't horrible but it wasn't great either. My point is, they're always saying this shit. It's called marketing, and if the gameplay can't do the marketing, then their words are gonna have to do it until then, right? Doesn't mean anything until we see gameplay and the gameplay looks great. But I'm not here just to say that. Like, obviously, yes, seeing good gameplay would prove that they've learned their mistakes, but that's not the major problem I have with what he said here. The problem here is that he doesn't clarify anything, right? How can you say you've learned your mistakes and you don't even tell us what those mistakes are, right? Like, he kind of tries to describe what he thinks the mistakes are, because he says our team is developing the new game deliberately and slowly, which insinuates that he believes the mistake is that he's been making games non-deliberately or fast, making them too fast, rushing them out, which, yes, you could argue that's a mistake, but personally, I'd argue that's not the biggest mistake they've made in recent years. Like, you could say that with a game like 06 or Generations. 06 was rushed because it wasn't as polished as it should have been. Generations was rushed because it had a very small amount of content, even though the content we got was good, right? But that's not the major problem that I think people had with Forces. I mean, yes, Forces did feel very budget for a game that, while it took 4 years to come out, apparently they only worked on it for a year because they were, you know, in Hawaii for 3 years apparently. But it being budget was not its major issue. There were bigger issues than that, because we've seen time and time again that people have made great games fast and with smaller budgets, and it's been proven. Like, let's give an example of a game that you lot seem to love so much, much, Sonic Colors, a game that is loved so much by fans that they're apparently willing to witch hunt me for not smiling and singing along to Reach for the Stars and Speak for Your Heart during a symphony, even though it's not one of my favorite songs. It's almost like we have musical preferences. Oh wait, no. Those don't exist in the Sonic fan community. Positivity or die. Anyway, back to the Wisp game. They started developing that in 2009. It came out late 2010, and it was a hit, right? It was successful. It did something that apparently people liked. Not me, but it did something. And a lot of other games like Sonic Adventure 2 came out only 2 years after Sonic Adventure came out in the West. Like, we've seen time and time again that games can be a bit rushed or slightly less polished than it should have been, and the game still ends up good because the core gameplay is good. So when I hear Iizuka say, oh, we've learned our problems and now we're taking our time with the game, it's like, cool, you're taking your time, but I could take my time to make a shit sandwich and it's still gonna be a shit sandwich no matter how precisely I cut up the shit to make sure it lines up with the bread and doesn't stick out the sides. You know how annoying it is, like when a burger, like the meat sticking out the sides too much, and it's like, just fit it within the bread. You know, my point is, taking your time doing what is what I'm trying to say. The problems that we had with Forces go way beyond budget, alright? I just played the demo for Spark the Electric Jester 3, which is a 3D game made by Lake Fepard and the sequel to obviously Spark 1 and 2. Spark 2 is another one. I streamed Spark 2 and I made a video on it on my non-Sonic channel, link in the description. And if you love Adventure 1, I would highly recommend playing Spark 2. And Spark 3 is now adding rail grinding to the mix as well, so that's gonna have some Adventure 2 influence in that. I'll be uploading a video of my reaction to the Spark 3 demo on the non-Sonic channel, by the way. It's already recorded, it's just not out yet. But the point is, that is a game made by one person, and you can bet your bottom dollar that the budget that they had was still smaller than the budget they had with Forces. So how are they making a game that's more fun? So again, back to core gameplay. What Iizuka needs to be saying is that he's learned the real mistakes of Forces and he's working on those. Not the budget, not the rushing or anything like that, but the core issue that we've had with Forces, and honestly, with the majority of 2010 Sonic, in my opinion, is that they are babying the games, right? Not just from a story standpoint. We know Colors had a very babyish story, but from a gameplay standpoint, they have been making the games more and more babyish. They have been making it easy as fuck. They've been adding all sorts of automation elements, like we were able to drift in Generations Unleashed, even Colors, and then in Forces now we can't drift, it does it for you. A lot of the avatars swinging things, it does it for you. Even staying in the middle of the like path that you're going through, the game tends to do it for you. There is so much scripting in Forces. Even the QTEs are basic as fuck. Most of them don't even kill you. Some of them give you like fucking 5-10 seconds to do them, and it's just pressing one button. The levels are so ridiculously short, which you could argue is a budget issue, but I would disagree, because if you compare the length of Forces to the length of One Team in Heroes, which is my favorite Sonic game, it's about the same. But Heroes has 14 levels and 7 bosses per team. Forces was 30 levels, that's including bosses. So 21 versus 30. So they just said, okay, we're gonna have less levels, but make them each individually a good amount of content, a good amount of length, in my opinion, a good length. Whereas the Forces are like, we're gonna have 30 things and then they're all gonna be short as fuck. Also, it helps that Heroes have way more environments and Forces had like 5 green hills and an overabundance of 2D. But the point is, my biggest problem with Iizuka has always been babying the player, and he says it in interviews, so I know that's how he believes he wants the franchise to be. All right, you can say he made games before the meta era that didn't do that, but when he took the mantle, which was after Unleashed, he decided what he wanted for the franchise and he gave it to us. He made the games easier, he made the games more scripted. The Wisps are more of a cringy thing. Like, I don't like Wisps because they're cringe. It's not because they're mechanically horrible. Like, you could make a challenging game that still has Wisps in it and it would still be a fun challenging game. As much as the sight of Wisps would make me cringe, I could at least admit the gameplay would be good, right? Like, my favorite level in Generations is Modern Planet Wisp. You probably don't know that about me, but when it comes to Iizuka's philosophy of I wanted to make this thing easier, in interviews for Team Sonic Racing, Iizuka literally said he designed the game in a way to make it easier, because one person would basically carry the team and they could play with their kids and they would suck and whatnot. Like, his goal is to have no one struggle and persevere and overcome challenge in a video game ever again, and as long as he doesn't learn that is a problem, he's going to alienate a lot of Sonic fans, especially the older ones, because the younger ones, they're growing up with it, they're gonna play it, enjoy it. But if you want to retain fans instead of just always getting newer, younger fans and then pissing off the older ones until they, you know, get upset and leave because they feel like the franchise isn't for them, then you have to learn to do what Nintendo does, which is have that balance. You know, I've got nieces and nephews who aren't even of the age of 10 who are playing Mario, and I'm almost 26 and I could still play Mario. Like, that's amazing that you could hit 2 different generations like that, and there's people older than me who've been playing Mario since when it first came out. That is amazing. But with Sonic, it always feels like fans just get alienated and left out. Like the classic fans were mad as fuck in the 2000s, while I was happy as fuck. I was getting the games I wanted. They could have done more in the 2000s to help the classic fans stay invested. I mean, I guess they eventually caved with Sonic 4, which was 2010, I believe, but obviously they didn't do it right. But my point is, they have to learn how to not alienate longtime fans while trying to make these easier experiences for new fans. And if Iizuka cannot figure out how to add accessibility options and difficulty options in a game without sacrificing the challenge for everyone else, then I'm sorry, then you're just gonna keep making the same mistake over and over again. Various other AAA companies have figured this out. They figured out how to make piss easy modes, casual modes for just experiencing the story of a game without having any real challenge, while still having challenging modes. This has been a problem with movies as well. Like, you got movies that are kids movies, and you got movies that anyone can enjoy, like families can enjoy, but also kids can enjoy. And the difference between those two is that kids movies are usually shit movies that you loved when you were a kid and you got older when actually that was shit. And movies that families can enjoy and also kids are usually movies that have little hidden references for the adults and an underlying, more in-depth plot going on, while the kids can still enjoy it because it's simple enough for the kids to get on the surface level. And that's a balance that many are not able to strike, especially not as well as Pixar do. But I digress. If you cannot strike that balance between getting the Sonic fans who want challenge and getting the Sonic fans who don't want challenge to love and appreciate the same game, then you're gonna keep struggling. And I think that's the thing that Iizuka needs to say that he's learned. He needs to say that he's learned that it's not all about how easy can we make this and how accessible can we make this. It's about how can we challenge the players who want to be challenged, which is a lot of the hardcore fan base, while still being accessible enough that other people can try it. And as much as I want to hope that Iizuka has figured that out, every time I see an interview with him talking about gameplay and upcoming games, even with Colors Ultimate, with its lives removal and mandatory tail save added to what was already an easy game, it's clear that Iizuka hasn't learned that. So my advice would be, just don't take this interview too seriously. It's just a bunch of words. We will see for sure what has actually happened once we get this Rangers gameplay, most likely somewhere in early 2022. But anyway, man, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Iizuka interview. Let me know what you guys think about what Iizuka had to say. Do you believe what he's talking about? Do you think he actually understands the fundamental issues that we've been having with Sonic in recent years? Or do you think he just sees one little thing out of the major amount of problems, which is the fact that games feel sometimes rushed and too budget? But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Premy out.